Hi, everybody. I'm Greg Fox with West 2 News and West.com, and this is another in our series of debates in the 2022 election year. Right now, we're talking to the candidates in House District 25. This is State House District 25. It's in Lake County, and it covers a number of cities from Claremont to Groveland, Mineola, Astatoula, Montverde, and on down to the Four Corners area. We're joined by most of the Republican candidates in this race. Liz Cornell could not be with us because of a prior commitment, but we are joined by Matthew Silbernagle, Tom Vale, Taylor Yarkosky, and we thank you all three gentlemen for joining us so that voters, Republican voters, can get an idea before they vote in this primary that comes up on August 23rd. Let's first get a chance to know you a little bit more. You'll each have 1 minute to tell us why you're in this race and what your maybe some of what your priorities are. And we're going to begin right now with Mr. Silbernagle.
Great. Well, thank you so much. My name is Matt Silbernagle. I am a Republican candidate for Florida House District 25. Both my wife and I, of almost 11 years now, are native Floridians, born and raised in and around House District 25. We've got three beautiful little girls, ages 6, 3, and 7 months. By day, I'm an attorney. I've been an attorney since I was 23. I focus mostly on eminent domain law, defending property owners and business owners who stand to lose their interest to governmental condemnation. I'm proud to say I've had a hand in procuring millions of dollars in constitutional compensation for Lake County residents and property owners. The reason I'm running for office is because I want to see Florida be self-sufficient. In a nutshell, self-sufficiency is simply that Florida and its citizens can stand on their own when push comes to shove without reliance on the federal government or international interests. To do that, Florida has to protect its citizens' constitutional rights and promote its own businesses. That's why, if elected, my top priorities will be ending abortion in Florida, passing constitutional carry, ensuring that families of every economic background have access to meaningful school choice, and then to promote Florida business by ending patchwork regulation and enacting meaningful tort reform. Thank you.
All right. I think that in dealing with fairness here, that was more like a minute and a half. I'm going to move on to Mr. Vale for a minute and a half. And thank you. It's Silbernagle, not Nagel. Okay, so that's some of what we do here in our debates. We learn how to properly pronounce everybody's name. So Mr. Vale, I'm going to give you a minute and a half now, and I'll do the same for Mr. Yarkosky.
Hi, my name is Tom Vale. I'm the one and only fully committed ultra-MAGA grassroots Christian man of the people down to the earth candidate in this race. I'm the Patrick Henry of Lake County. Give me liberty or give me death. So I'm more of a doer than a talker. I probably won't take the whole minute and a half that you're giving me, but I've already stood up for freedom, fighting for freedom in this county when it cost me my reputation and my money. And my wife and my 2 sons have been with me every step of the way. I'm committed now to replacing Anthony Sabatini as the most conservative member of the Florida legislature, even if it means being relegated to a solitary office in the basement of the Capitol. Oh, one more thing. Trump won.
Mr. Yarkosky, you have a minute and a half if you want to take that much. Go ahead.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. My name is Taylor Yarkosky. I live in Montverde. I've been out here for about 18 years now in Lake County. I grew up in a small Iowa farm town, the oldest of 9 children. I graduated from the University of Iowa in 1999. I lived in Miami for 5 years, and then I've been in Lake County ever since. I like to joke and say I'm officially a Floridian now because I've lived 23 years in Florida, and I was 22 years when I moved here. My wife and I, Courtney, have 5 children, 4 girls and a boy, and between 15 and 2 years old. And so we're pretty busy on the home front. I've had the pleasure of building some successful businesses over the years. And, I'm really excited to be able to bring my business acumen and a lot of my personal goodwill and relationships that I've built over the years and put them to work for Lake County. If elected, this will be the greatest honor of my life to be able to do this. And I'd like to piggyback on what Matt said. We need to be self-sufficient. I'm a big 10th Amendment states' rights guy. I think Matt and I have that in common. And so I'm looking forward to this opportunity to make this the greatest delegation in the state and do some wonderful work for the people of Lake County and Central Florida in general. Thank you, Matt, Greg.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. First, I want to see how much we can find out about you that's different from the other. I think that's going to help Republican voters in this district. The first thing I want to find out is the first bill you would file. I want to get a chance to see what your priority is. So the first bill you would file and exactly why. And we'll go back to Mr. Yarkowski this time and we'll work our way around.
So that's a great question. There's a lot of things that are on my radar, and I've been doing a lot of work out here, meeting a lot of people, and the first bill that I wanted to file and something that I wanted to look at, and I still think we need to look at, is an issue arose out here where our sheriff was not going to be able to rerun again for sheriff because he entered the Florida retirement system, the FRS drop program. And it prevented him from being able to continue to stay, or there were significant consequences financially if he were to, continue to serve. And so, one of my thoughts initially was, we need to file a bill that says that anybody who's in the drop program or in the retirement system in general, if you get elected at the will of the people, I don't care what you get elected to do, and I don't care what your background was, that should override that issue with the drop program and allow good people like my sheriff to continue to serve.
All right, Mr. Silbernagel, and I got the pronunciation right this time. What would be the first bill you would file and why?
Sure. So I think my first two bills I'm going to get beaten to just talking with people who are already elected to the House of Representatives. I think there's going to be folks who are going to file an abortion bill to end abortion. I think there's also going to be folks who pass a bill to or file a bill to pass constitutional carry. So I think my first bill would be a bill to enable families to have meaningful school choice in the state of Florida. I was homeschooled growing up. I am a big proponent of allowing parents to have meaningful school choice regardless of their economic backgrounds. What I envision is something like a statewide voucher system that regardless of where you live in the state, parents are the ones who receive the funds, not school systems, not school boards. And we really break up the monopoly that the current system of government schools has for affordable education for the state of Florida.
All right, Mr. Vail, your top priority and your first bill, what would that be?
My top priority is really election integrity. The 2020 election was stolen from us through fraud, fake ballots because of the mail-in, using the COVID hoax as an excuse for all that. I started off last year with a postcard project, 50,000 postcards I printed and distributed around the state to have mailed into the state legislature, to the governor. That's really my top priority. As far as legislation, I think constitutional carry is the number one issue, besides my number one issue of election integrity.
And why constitutional carry? Why is that a good idea for Florida?
Because Americans love freedom. We have freedom because of guns. We are the freest country in the world. If it weren't for the Democrat-run cities, Chicago, Detroit, Washington, D.C., and a few others, we'd be the safest country in the world. Our guns keep us free.
I'm interested to spin off of the comments from Mr. Vail. I'd like to get your take, Mr. Silbernagel, and also yours, Mr. Yarkowski. We'll start with Matt. Do you think the election was stolen? And we had a governor who said we had the best election we've ever had. That was his statement.
Yeah, I'm guessing that he's referring to the state of Florida. I think the state of Florida did what it needed to do. As far as nationally, I'm running in a state election. I can't control what other states do. I think, of course, there is voter fraud. I think there's always voter fraud, unfortunately. So I think the state of Florida, I think we did well. I think we could do better. I think we could limit the amount of absentee ballots that are used. I think there needs to be more of a showing of cause to use an absentee ballot. I think we get rid of drop boxes. And quite frankly, I think we can show IDs at the polls. I think all of these things we're going to continue to push Florida into having a safer, more secure election that us Floridians can be proud of.
And Mr. Yarkowski, what are your thoughts on our election security? Do you agree with the governor that it was the best result, best election, best tended by the supervisors of elections?
So I tend to agree with Matt on that. I think that Florida did, like you said, did what we needed to do. I'm sure there was probably issues in Democrat areas like Broward County and stuff, but I think all in all, we did a good job in Florida from everything that I've heard. Now I say this, you know, obviously I'm not privy and exposed to a lot of things that others are, but I think around this country, there was a lot of shenanigans that happened. And I think that, you know, sometimes God puts us through these things because it allows us to become greater and bigger and better, and allows us to fix things. And I think some very meaningful election reform and integrity laws were passed around this country in the last couple of years. And so I'm excited to see how we continue to build on that in Florida to really lock it down and make it some a system, like Tom says, that, you know, we never have to worry again, and that people know that their vote matters, it counts, and there's not truckloads of ballots being, you know, shipped in somewhere, et cetera.
So just to wrap this up, Mr. Vail, I'll give you 30 to 45 seconds here. So were you referring nationally? You didn't have a problem with the Florida election, I'm assuming, or do you want to clarify that statement and wrap this up?
Well, I could probably talk for 15 or 20 minutes about that issue. Florida did have a very good election. It wasn't perfect, better than most. I still believe some problems in this state with voter registrations. I'm working with a team of people in Lake County and across the state that are investigating the fraud with the machines, with the voter registrations, and a number of other issues. And a lot of that's going to come out during this summer, just like the 2000 Mules movie that Dinesh D'Souza just presented.
But again, just to clarify, you're saying that you believe that there was fraud, and specifically in Lake County?
Yes, absolutely, without a doubt.
Okay, we're going to move on to our next topic here. Lake County, of course, is a sprawling community. You know, it started as kind of a quiet bedroom community outside of Orlando, but of course is growing now tremendously. And we've been talking about an affordable housing crisis for some time now. The average rent for a 2-bedroom unit in Lake County is now almost $1,000 a month. How would you make housing more affordable? And we'll start with Mr. Vail this time.
Housing market is a supply and demand market. We've got more people moving into Florida every day. Florida's the freest state in the country. People want to move here. So if you've looked around this county, there is construction everywhere. While there's more houses being built, there's more people moving in. It's simply supply and demand. Costs are going up. The building costs are going up. The cost of a building permit in this county is outrageous. It's around $15,000 to get a building permit from what I've seen. There's not a simple solution to this.
But do you have one?
I haven't thought of a solution. This is a market problem. People want to come here. There's people that have land. They want to sell the land. They want to build houses. How does one person control a market? You can't do that. And I don't think we can legislate that either.
Okay, let's move on to Mr. Yarkowski. What are your thoughts on especially the rental market, because that's really what we're talking about here. We've got skyrocketing rents. What, if anything, can and should the legislature do along with the governor to get a handle on that?
You know, I agree. That's a tricky one, but I will tell you that when it comes to local issues in Lake County, that's been the one thing that I'm the most concerned about. Not from the standpoint of, I mean, affordable housing is important, rents, all those things. I'm more concerned about the proper densities of economic development in general that we're doing in Lake County. And it's okay to say enough. It's okay to say we're not going to do this. We're not going to continue to push here and grow there. Now, I'm a property rights guy, but I also believe that we have to be very careful what we're doing out here. It's like you said, it reminds me of my Iowa roots out here in Lake County. It's a beautiful, beautiful area, and we all love it. But if we're not careful, there's a lot of counties around Lake County, a couple in particular that I remember 20 years ago being very akin to Lake County today. And the economic development got out of control, and it changed the county forever. And I don't want that to happen out here. Thankfully, we have great county commissioners who are very focused on that as well, and local governments. But there's no solution there's no simple solution that's going to take a lot of us thinking that one through. but I'm always a free market guy and a capitalism guy. The market will correct it. When you start messing with businesses, you start constricting us, telling us what we can do, encumbering us, it starts to trickle down to the employees, and it trickles down to these kind of crises. And they always want to attack the business owners for the pot of money they think they have, but they're not realizing what that's doing to the employees, and it's taking our legs out from under us to be able to do a lot of things that we otherwise would probably do if the government stayed out of our business.
All right, Mr. Silbernagle, we're talking about affordable housing, skyrocketing rent. Do you have a plan?
Yeah, well, I think at the end of the day, I agree that it's a market problem. My plan, though, would be to move government out of creating arbitrary issues for developers. You know, I've represented clients who are looking to develop property, some of which was going to be affordable housing. They spent more on gopher tortoise allocation and relocation than they did actually laying plumbing and foundations for these buildings that they were trying to build. And this is in Lake County. So my plan would be to move arbitrary government fees, fines, costs out of the way. And I would also be in support of legislation that lets people with their own property take more creative solutions. I think if you look at the market throughout the country, you see more and more creative solutions to housing problems, you know, whether that be for tiny houses in and around areas of college. Lake County has some colleges. There's different things that people on their own without government funding would be happy to do that would help address a lot of the affordable housing shortage that we see. So really, at the end of the day, it's moving government out of the way, letting the market solve the problem, because at the end of the day, I think it will.
Mr. Silbernagle, we'll stick with you. When we deal with growth, obviously, then the consequences are challenging when it comes to our natural resources. Lake County is famous for its beautiful lakes, boating, activity, recreation, nature, and wildlife. So as we let the market, in your words, handle that, what can you do as a lawmaker to also protect those resources? Because I think I heard Mr. Yurkowski a second ago, and we'll hear from him again, talk about, maybe tapping the brakes a little bit here just to make sure that we handle that growth. What's your plan?
Sure. My plan would be to take a common sense approach. Not all conservation land is created equal. As you aptly stated, Lake County is well known for its lakes and rivers and beautiful natural resources. I live off of the Johns Lake area, which is one of the best bass fisheries in the entire county. So we absolutely have a vested interest, not only from an ecological standpoint, but also from a financial standpoint, to ensure that our natural resources are protected. But at the same time, so much of Florida's approach to conservation has simply been to throw large swaths of state land under conservation monopolies, basically, that prevent, or I would argue arbitrarily, from that property ever being put to use for any sort of economic boom. Now, I don't think the plan is to say that every time you have a green pasture, there needs to be a house on it. But I think simply allowing, for instance, small scale best practice farming on state lands would be a great way to balance our ecological needs, but also allow property to not be tied up in an economically viable capacity for eternity, essentially. So that would be my approach.
Mr. Vail, how about you?
So I agree with both the other candidates on a lot of points there. I'm favoring free market as much as possible, limited government as much as possible. I'm a little bit wary about conservation, government-sponsored conservation that prevents future development. We have to have development. That's what's going to happen in our country. Government controls that. Elected officials have a responsibility to try to balance the issues. And it's very difficult, I think, to say today what we need to do for the people 20 years from now.
Okay, Mr. Yurkowski, maybe you can wrap up this conversation. What do we need to do to make sure that while we do, in fact, have places for people to live and want to move to in Lake County, to also protect all the things that attract people to Lake County?
So I think Matt brings up a good point about the conservation land, but it's even deeper in my opinion. Our local governments, and Lake County is no different, they own way too much land. They shouldn't own all the land they own, and in my opinion, local government, if you don't have a specific immediate, like maybe within the next 3 to 5 year plan to use this land, they should not just be holding on to all this land. So I think there is definitely a solution somewhere in there to take land owned by the government and allocate certain parts of that to handle some of this crisis that we're talking about with housing. But I also think to your point about the ecology out here and the pristineness and topography and all the beauty that we have in Lake County, we have insane dilapidated infrastructure, whether it be piping, whether it be roads. And so we need to look at how we dive in and fix some of those issues right now and put some real teeth and some requirements to make sure we're not nutrient loading and polluting our waterways, our lakes. And by the way, the infiltration and inflow that happens in these leaky pipes and everything, and that not only goes into the ground and into the lakes, it also comes into the pipes and inundates the facilities that shouldn't be treating lake water. So there's a lot of issues that we could look at quickly around the whole state, not just Lake County, on how we're making sure we're protecting the infrastructure we have. We've got more money in the state than we've ever had, and there's a lot of federal money still available. We need to be doing some programs that's forcing cities and counties, you flush your toilet, you turn on your water, you do these things that's out of sight, out of mind. But that's where a lot of our real problems are happening in our environment today, in my opinion. And they're already doing a lot of things like fixing septic to sewer, but we need to keep moving deeper with it.
All right. Let's shift gears out of Lake County and talk about a statewide issue that has come up in every legislative session since it passed. Back in 2018, after the Parkland school shooting massacre in South Florida, lawmakers led by then Governor Scott passed measures, and among them, it did two things. One, it raised the age to buy a long gun from 18 to 21. And besides that, it also allowed more than 8,000 times since then under a red flag law for courts or law enforcement to be able to remove firearms from someone's home. Let's start with Mr. Vail this time. Would you, if you're elected, vote to repeal one or both of those measures or keep them in place?
I am absolutely 100% against red flag laws in every case. Lack of due process and a tremendous potential for abuse. Changing the age of purchasing a gun, that's basically irrelevant. 50 years ago, 75 years ago, you could buy a gun by mail order. You have it shipped to your house. We didn't have school shootings at that time. This is a God problem. This is a moral problem. People have lost respect for each other. They've lost respect for God. And this is the problem. It's not the gun. It's not the ownership of the gun. It's what's in the head and what's in the heart that counts.
Well, but again, pointing out the red flag law, in many cases, these people were either in a state that would not allow them to be able to own a gun because they would be a harm to themselves, harm to family members, harm to the general public. Mental health issues come into play here. These are all weighed by judges in the courts to be able to remove these firearms. And so you say that it's in here, and I think that's why more than 8,000 times it's been used. You're saying that you think it has been abused in some of those cases.
I reject this premise of your question. Your question presupposes that these people weren't known to have mental issues, mental problems. They're reported to be abusing animals. That's a key signal of lack of respect, of lack of morality. People knew this. This didn't just pop up overnight. Wherever they got the gun, whether they got it legal or they stole it or took somebody else's gun, whatever that is, it's a mental problem, and people knew about that.
Okay. Mr. Silbernagle, we've got two of those measures in the Parkland law, in the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Act, that deal with the age to buy a long gun and also with the ability to take firearms away from those who are deemed to be a threat. What are your thoughts on keeping those, repealing those, doing something different?
Yeah, no, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm against both of those. Red flag laws are unconstitutional by any reasonable stretch of the imagination. I mean, we have the right to a trial by jury before we can be deprived of our rights to life, liberty, or property. Allowing a court to artificially or independently decide on its own without a chance to be heard from the other side that this person's no longer allowed to possess their property is unconstitutional. As far as changing the age, I think if you're an adult, you're an adult. You know, these kids, 18, they're allowed to sign up and join the military and go serve overseas. But when they come back, we tell them that you're not allowed to buy a long rifle. I think that's just foolishness. At the end of the day, I think ultimately what we need is constitutional carry in the state saying that we no longer need government permission to operate our Second Amendment rights. So I would be 100% in favor of legislation that repeals red flag laws and returns the age of purchasing long arms from 21 to 18.
All right, Mr. Yurkowski, what are your thoughts on this?
So I think they both bring up good points. I'm against all of it. I agree with Matt, it's unconstitutional. I also agree with Tom that this is not a problem of guns. You know, it reminds me of back in the late 80s. Matt doesn't remember this, but Tom probably does. I remember being a kid growing up in Iowa, and I played guitar and I had drums. I was a musician, and I used to listen to all the rock music that everyone probably said you're not supposed to. And, you know, kids would commit suicide or things were happening. They were blaming the artists, and they were like Tipper Gore and Al Gore. They're coming out blaming this and blame. And it's like, no, it's not the music. It's not the guns. It's the, like Tom said, we're losing the family in this country. We're losing morality. We're losing the constitutional biblical principles that I grew up with on the farm of Iowa that was paramount every day in my life. And if those things we get that back, and a lot of that happens through the school choice and education and things that we're doing in this country. I just feel like, you know, listen, I'm a firearms instructor. I've got officer licenses that with the state of Florida and the armed security world. I spend a lot of time in this world. I train with the best of the best people, and I listen and I learn. And I'm telling you that the last thing that we need is to take, like Tom said, take away the firearms that give us the right to protect ourselves, protect our freedoms for the responsible people. The founding fathers gave us that right, and we're messing with it. It's like messing with God. Bad things happen, and I disagree with it. And it was a reactive decision to a horrible situation, but it was not right. We need to think it through, and we cannot just be taking people's constitutional rights because somebody doesn't like the way somebody's acting. There has to be a proper system, or it can't happen, in my opinion.
Okay, we found.
Quick, I'll just jump in since my name was mentioned.
Okay,
I've seen.
Fair enough. Go ahead.
I've seen Straight Outta Compton. I'm very much aware that Tipper Gore was not a fan of NWA, but anyway, I'll just throw that out there. So,
okay, all right. So I've heard a couple of areas in our questioning, and we're winding down. We're getting close to the 30-minute mark here. I want you to each take 45 seconds, and because you've talked to me about things in which you think alike. The three of you. I'm trying to help the Republican voter figure out which one of you or Ms. Cornell to vote for. So I want, let's start with you, Mr. Yurkowski, 45 seconds. How are you not like the other candidates in this race?
I think the biggest thing that sets me apart is that I have been in business in Florida now for almost 20 years. I have built companies. I have lost companies due to legislation. I lost an entire industry. I had 125 employees, and I lost the whole thing due to legislation and the government changing things. I have a business acumen. I have an ability to unite people, bring people together, find solutions. I am a master GC in everything that I do. I'm a general contractor by trade, but I know how to get the right people in the room. I know how to listen, and I know how to get it right. It's not about me. It's about the mission that we are on. And I believe that this is a divine mission that God has put on my heart. It's a purpose for me now of taking the first 45 years of my life and put it to work for my community. And what I'm going to bring is the common sense of how I run my business, how I run my family. And it's not about me. It's about Lake County and what are we doing and how do we get it right? And that's what I'm really good at.
Okay, I'm going to give Mr. Vail a minute. Go ahead. How are you not like the other candidates in this particular race?
So all of us, and including the elusive Liz Cornell, seem to have basically the same general values as you mentioned. But the difference is I'm the only one in the race that's been out there doing it. I came to Lake County just a few years ago, 3.5 years ago. And as soon as I did, I joined the Republican Party because I wanted to do something. I've been working as a volunteer with the Republican Party. I was out on the streets 14 months waving Trump flags before the election and stopped the steal rallies after the election. I'm now serving for 18 months as the treasurer of the Lake County Republican Party, the official Republican Party, not just the Republican registered voters. I've been doing this. I continue to do this. I work with Republican clubs. A lot of people have known me and seen me. Other candidates pop up when it's election time, show their face, say, vote for me because I'll do something in the future. I've been doing something. I continue to do it.
All right, Mr. Silbernagel, how are you not like the other candidates in this race? Help Republican voters out here.
Well, Greg, I'm the only Republican in this race that has a demonstrated track record of actually fighting for Lake County residents' constitutional rights. As I mentioned in my opening, I focus my practice mostly on eminent domain, which means I go into the courtrooms and I fight for and I defend constitutional rights of property owners and business owners. Like it or not, we live in a legal society. And if we don't have someone who has the acumen to understand how these laws are written and how these laws are defended, at the end of the day, we're going to end up with a lot of constitutional violations. And I'm the one who's actually has the experience to combat that. I'd also add that I'm the only candidate in this race that's knocked the amount of doors I have. I've made myself accessible to the folks of Lake County. I've had hundreds, if not thousands, of conversations at people's doors. That's something I plan to continue in my time as a state representative, accessibility.
All right, I'm going to wrap up with one question here, and then I'll give you each a minute to close. We'll start with Mr. Vail. I want to talk about the fact that Florida is one of 12 states that has not expanded Medicaid. If we did that, 1.4 million people in Florida would be able to be moved from the coverage gap, low-income people under the Affordable Care Act. But we have to do that in Florida in order to make that happen. It hasn't happened under current Republican leadership. If you are elected, would you vote for expanding Medicaid or against it, and why?
I don't know enough about that issue right now to make a comment. I'd have to look into it more deeply to know which way to go on that. Mr.
Silbernagel.
Yeah, I would vote against it. And the reason for that is I've got family members who currently qualify for the Medicaid system as it stands now. And every single day, it's a battle for them to get covered what they're supposed to already be covered for. It's a broken system. And so I think a lot of times people's solution is let's throw good money after bad. And if we just expand it, if we just make it, if we just put more money in the coffers, that'll fix the problems. Well, it's not fixing the problems now. So why do we want to waste more money, more time, more effort on a system that doesn't work? I care for those folks who are in that coverage gap. And I think there's solutions we can work towards, but I don't think it's expanding Medicaid.
All right, Mr. Yarkowski, on Medicaid, for it, against it, expanding it, and why?
I'm definitely against expanding it as well. I think that, again, as a businessman, I go back to what I'll always say: the free market will correct this if we stay out of the way of the market and of businesses and stop trying to tell them what to do and stop, continually, dictating all these things. I just think that this is a perfect example of how money does not fix a money problem. You've got to go deep into this and fix it. And no one wants to dive into it and ask the real questions. It's a touchy subject. I agree. It's got to be, we have to find a solution. But I think the solution is in opening up and giving businesses the freedom to do what they want. And that's going to drive employees to the best options, which corrects itself, in my opinion, when you get the government out of our way.
All right. We're getting to the close of our time here. Mr. Yarkowski, start us off. You've got 1 minute to close. Why should Republican voters in Florida House 25 vote for you?
Very simple. I am one of the hardest working Iowa farm boys you're ever going to meet. I always tell people when I speak, I'm not going to get in here and talk about all these issues, and we can if you want. I'm going to talk to you about the heart of this man. I've been through a lot of failure in my life. I've had company that's come and gone. I've had a lot of personal things, went through a horrible divorce, dealt with a lot of stuff in my life. But you know what? God put me through it for a reason. I've come out on the other side, and we've done nothing but continue to do great things out here. I've got the overwhelming support of the delegation in Lake County and in Central Florida, and I've not stopped working every single day. And like I said, this is going to be the greatest honor of my life to do this, and we will get it right every single day.
All right, thank you. Mr. Vail, 1 minute.
Okay, so I'm the most down-to-earth grassroots candidate here. I'm not beholden to any special interests. I've been working as a volunteer, unpaid, for the interests of citizens of Lake County, of Florida, and the whole nation. And our country represents freedom for the whole world. If we lose it here, we lose it everywhere. Our elections are the most important thing. And that's what my number one topic is. My number one priority is making our elections here in Florida better, but also doing whatever I can to lobby other state legislatures to do the same. I've been a volunteer lobbyist for a lot of my life. I started when I was 16 years old. I've lobbied the U.S. Congress. I've lobbied the state legislature. This is what I believe in doing. I've done it for free. Nobody's been paying me. No organization behind me. It's what I do on my own.
And Mr. Silbernagle, 1 minute, please.
Absolutely. In addition to figuring out where we stand on the issues, I think what candidates need to look for are two additional things: is experience and accessibility, as I mentioned before. I'm an eminent domain attorney. I have the legal experience to defend Lake County citizens and businesses' constitutional rights. I know how the laws work. I know how they're written. I know how to defend. I know where we need to go. Secondly, I'm accessible. I've been out knocking doors, thousands of doors. I'm where folks live. If you need me, come talk to me. That's something that I'm going to continue on in my time as a state representative. I love Florida. I'm a lifelong resident, and I want to see Florida be for my kids what it's been for me in my life.
All right, very good. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us once again. The other Republican in State House District 25 in Lake County is Liz Cornell, who could not be with us due to a scheduling conflict. No Democrat qualified in this race, so the winner will go up against the no party affiliate or independent candidate Banks Helfrich in the November general election. Thank you, gentlemen, and thank you for watching.